Hello, everyone. This is another day that God has given us, bright and shining. Welcome to tjkshares. Like we have promised you in the past, we bring you people who have done transformational things in this world, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Today, I'm excited to be again talking to somebody who I spent a whole year at Harvard University in our ALI. He had so much fun, he decided to do a second year. So this year, my friend here, Paulo, thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you for sparing time. Welcome. Please greet the people and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Jackson, first and foremost, thank you for inviting me. You're not only a great friend, but you're an inspiration to all of us that have had, as you said, the privilege to spend a fantastic year together at Harvard last year. So I'm Paulo Carvão. I am Brazilian American. I have had a career in technology and business. Spent 33 years at IBM until I graduated from there in 2022. But my life was not only defined by IBM. I was born in Brazil, in Rio. I grew up there, went to school, to college, to MBA, started my professional life there. I'm a grandchild of immigrants from Portugal, from both sides of my family. People from humble origins that came to try their luck
Yes.
in the new continent, right? My just to share a little bit, my background with you. And my father was the first one to go to college. My mother was and is still a homemaker. As you know, it's the most important and the most demanding job in the world. I know you know that really well. And she herself, she never went to college. Both of them, my father and mother, were born in the northern part of Brazil, the Amazon region.
Okay.
And later in their lives, they moved to Rio for my father to go to college, and kind of the rest is history, right? So I had a middle class upbringing. I was never destitute, but never had a lot of privilege. My parents, frankly, put all their focus on education for both my younger sister and for me. And I think this kind of created the values that I brought forward to the rest of my life, which were, a very strong work ethic, hard work, uh, sense of humility, and education, right? As the values that I brought with me from those early days.
Wow. So one of the things that our listeners from all over the world, especially the young people in Uganda, I tell them we get to meet all of our guests and get to learn the world within the scope of this channel. So young people look up Amazon. We will make sure that you know where it is located. Firstborns in Ugandan culture have a responsibility to care for the young ones. Did you feel that way when you were growing up with your younger sister?
That's a good question. I would say yes and no, right? As the older sibling, you always feel a little protective of uh, of your younger sibling. But my sister was and is a very strong woman, right? And I think she also had a very, very strong role in my life. So she's the one who introduced me to my now late wife. And so, in a sense, I think she was taking more care of me than I was taking care of her. But, the younger brother is always a little protective of the younger sister.
And basically saying that right now also ties into this month of Women's Month. We celebrate women all year round, every day of the year. But this month, celebrates March 8th, the International Women's Day, and therefore a whole month of celebration that focuses on women. And that emphasis, Paulo, makes such a big sense. And I wish everyone really realized how women play that big role, even young sisters, shaping part of your life. So growing up as a young child, did you see technology as an area where you will end up? And what influenced you to end up in the journey of technology that we are going to talk about today?
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, you kind of never know, right? I as a young boy, I always liked to tinker with things, right? I would break up things and reassemble things. I was big into trying to build small model planes. And so maybe I had a little bit of a curiosity for objects and how to kind of solve puzzles related to objects. And I started early with programming, and with that developed a little bit of a love for computers. And ended up, deciding that I was going to go into kind of an engineering career. In Brazil, similar to here also, if you select engineering, you go there, right, instead of a kind of a more liberal arts open career, right? So with that, I went to an engineering school. I graduated as an electrical engineer and fell in love not with computers. I had been working since my freshman year with computer programming, but I fell in love with television engineering from
Oh,
all things. And I think it had deep electronics back then. It was, if you picture yourself in like the mid 80s, it was the transition from analog to digital signal processing. So it was like deep electronics, and also had like the glamour of the artsy side of television. So my first job after I graduated from college was actually an entrepreneurship adventure, in which, together with other friends that were graduating with me, we built a very small firm for maintenance of professional television equipment. And we also stayed together in a kind of a teaching lab in the school that we had graduated for. So entrepreneurship and teaching, at the college from where I graduated is where I started. And, I did that for 4 years. 4 years later, I had bought my first home on the back of that small business and some of my other kind of odd jobs here and there. But I knew that kind of the company was not going to grow from that point, and I started looking for a job. I had done an internship at IBM as, again, an electrical engineer in a manufacturing plant in my senior year in college, and I decided to apply for IBM. I never thought that I would stay there for this long, and this was, I don't know, more than 35 years ago, and here I am, right? So it's kind of a little bit maybe my curiosity with things and breaking things and reassembling things and building things led me to this career, and then kind of eventually to with IBM, also to the second important shift in my life, which was coming to the US, which is something that I had never planned and never had kind of an ambition to immigrate from Brazil. I came here to the US for the first time in 1995 for an executive development program. Between 95 and 99, I was back and forth between Brazil and the US. And then, my career started growing internationally. And I came here to the US for the last time in 1999 and never looked back.
So you started with IBM in Brazil and moved to IBM in USA.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So this career has been transformational for you. Within that time of movement from college tinkering and with the stuff, you would think you'd have ended up building computers, but you went even deeper. You have seen So many changes happened between those days of analog television, the technology as we have it today, and we'll get to there. When did you meet your late wife? And we want to give glory to God. May she continue to rest in peace. And talk a little bit about your children before once we get into technology and AI, we will not stop. But I want to make sure that people understand when you met your late wife and your amazing children who continue to make you as a father proud and make all of us proud who met you and get to know a little bit about them.
No, thank you, my friend. And yeah, no, my as I mentioned, my sister introduced me to my wife, and it was kind of a funny thing. I was actually graduating from college, and they were graduating from high school, and my parents had a summer home. And as you know, Carnival is a big holiday in Brazil, so everybody typically from Rio went to their summer homes to kind of spend the holiday there. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I stayed behind. My sister and a few other friends had gone to our summer home, and I stayed behind. And my wife also, for whatever reason, stayed behind. And I offered her a ride, and I had like no interest nor anything, and it was just a ride.
Yeah.
And things maybe started during that kind of a long drive. And we dated for 7 years before getting married. So
Oh,
she was the time that she was a physician, was the time for her to go to medical school, go do her residency. And then 7 years after, I had no excuses, right? I was in the middle of my professional life. She also had finished her residency, and so we kind of decided to get married. And we stayed together for about 30 years. And then, my kids, which are certainly kind of the pride and joy of, both of us, and she's like looking at us from wherever she is. The two boys are, it's kind of a funny story, because if you remember a little bit of what I mentioned in that timeline, between 95 and 99, I was between the US and Brazil. And I have two boys, or young men. One is 27, the other one 25 now. And so they're in that period. And both of them were made in the US and born in Brazil with no planning. Like, just coincidentally, it's kind of the reverse normal story, with which people, I don't know
yeah.
if this is like a more of a joke or a negative term. So I apologize if there's any negativity in this. But sometimes people call anchor babies, which are people that come to the US to have the kids here,
Oh, yes.
right? In my case, was the contrary, right? They were like reverse anchor babies, and eventually in 2010, kind of my wife and I naturalized American citizens, and then the boys became also American, because they're children of American parents. So
Yeah.
it ended up working well for everybody, because everybody was able to retain a kind of a Brazilian and an American citizenship, and we're all proud of both heritages.
Wonderful. Where are your boys now spending their time?
Also, I think I honestly want to believe that we have not influenced their footsteps, but one of them is an engineer, the other one is aspiring physician. So they one follow the father, the other one follow the mother. They are kind of one that lives in New York City, is after working kind of for 4 years as a telecommunications engineer, is doing an MBA in Manhattan, in the city. And the other one is finishing med school at Northwestern in Chicago. So
There we go. Wonderful. We are proud of you, young men, and your dad, as you can tell, very proud of the accomplishments you have done. Thank you for making him a daddy, and continue to thrive to do the best. And for young parents, here we go. One boy followed mom, doctor, another boy followed dad, engineer. That's a dream of every parent. Though now we also have to give them freedom really to choose. I'm glad they chose professions that tie into what you did.
Exactly, Jackson. Above all, I would be happy if they're happy doing whatever they would like to do, right? So that's what's important.
You are an experienced leader, my friend. You've led businesses, multi-billion businesses. We are speaking to you from Chapagua, I'm thinking, in New York, near IBM, where you retired from before you took on your third career. What strategies have you found most effective in achieving goals you have achieved in your business career?
Yeah, it's Jackson. It's a great question, and maybe I go back to kind of the very beginning of the story. If you remember that I mentioned that I took three main values from my upbringing and from my parents, which were hard work and a deep work ethic, humility, and education, right? And as an immigrant, I didn't have the social capital that my local colleagues had. So I decided that nobody would be working harder, right? I would compensate by really working very hard. I had the humility to sometimes take jobs that others would not want to take, but in a very deliberate way, jobs that I knew that would bring me the skills that I needed to continue fostering growth in my career. And I had the kind of obsession that I still have with lifelong learning. And I kind of reinvented my career like 3 or 4 times, from hardware to software to leading industry verticals to cloud computing. And I think that's one of the reasons that I always felt fresh, although I stayed at the same employer for more than 3 decades. So I think more than any tactic or anything was values based and going back to the very basic things that I learned when I was a child and brought forward from my parents.
And the point you make there, Paulo, is so really is something we have emphasized on this channel and with many people I mentor. Young people tend to try to look outside their homes for mentors when the mentors are also right there in their homes. What your dad and mom demonstrated to you, you've had the money yourself, are the same skill sets you brought into your work. 35 years career. Now people of your caliber and qualifications are jumping every 2 years. They are here in this area and there in this area. Not that that's a criticism, but things have changed. But I love what you have reemphasized. You continued reinventing yourself within the job you are doing. I was going to ask you about how that goes, the skills you have developed, but you just talked about it. You are with one company, but you are hard worker. I am a testament right here. We spent a year at Harvard. You took more classes, Paulo. You took every advantage and every meeting you can take. You taught classes, you led seminars. So when he says he's a hard worker and a lifelong learner, I am your testament. I've seen it and I admire that about you. Thank you for being a leader you are and continuing to lead into the successful organizations you have done. So how do you see now with all the technology that you can actually take us a little bit on what you have seen in this journey of analog to AI as we speak right now? And then we'll talk about how we see AI and cloud computing evolving and what those of us who are not in the center of technology but still use it need to be prepared moving forward.
No, very, very good. Certainly has been a journey, right? And talking a little bit of or looking at that industry from the perspective of my skills and then getting into cloud computing and AI. So first, growing in the business was always my ambition, right? As a kind of a young engineer joining IBM, my dream was running a large business unit. I had no illusions that I wasn't going to be the CEO of IBM, but I wanted to have an impact and run a large business unit. And IBM, the title for this is general manager, and a general manager there is whoever has full P&L responsibility, meaning that you manage both the top line of the business, the revenue side of the business, and the bottom line, the profit of the unit, and kind of everything in between. But you don't kind of simply parachute into a position like this, right? You have to develop the skills over time. Be it sales, marketing, product development, HR, finance, all the back office operations. And back to that concept of taking jobs that I knew that I needed to take to develop skills that would prepare me for that position. It's similar when you talk about younger generations that might be preparing to go to college or going to college now. Is you develop a major, and but you also have a series of minors. My major personally was in business to business sales, and over the many decades, right, that of my professional life, and with the help and the mentoring of many that have given me an opportunity to develop skills and all of these other minors that prepared me to compete for these general management positions that I aspired when I was kind of a young engineer joining the company. And I completed my cycle at IBM after occupying 4 of those positions, right, in different areas. I ended up being part of the senior executive team, which was a group of about 70 of us that were responsible for the operational performance of a 300,000 people company. So it's a long way for that son of first generation and immigrants that came from a different nation, right? But it's back to kind of the core subject here of cloud and AI. I think this recent, well, not so recent now, but the movement of workloads to the cloud, like workloads are, the programs, the applications that run in an IT infrastructure. So this movement of workloads to the cloud that we have seen in the last decade and a half, almost 2 decades, has been a great enabler of business agility. By lifting this IT infrastructure that used to be in like large data centers, lifting this to the cloud, which actually is more of like a metaphor for virtualizing that IT infrastructure. You change the economics for the entry point, meaning that you have more access for smaller companies, more access for people from every and anywhere, and the ability for paying more incrementally for what you use. And so lower the barriers for access and also increase flexibility by not being tied to a physical infrastructure that can get ossified, calcified, and is very capital intensive.
Yes.
And then on top of this enters then artificial intelligence, which in essence, in very, very simple terms, is a lot of computing power applied to a lot of data. And all of this running in the cloud, and with the potential of, when applied to business processes, improving business and personal productivity. So by using artificial intelligence to infuse this intelligence into every business process in an enterprise, you can transform the way you do business. And this generates tremendous productivity gains, and the estimates that this last iteration now that started just a little bit more than a year ago with this proliferation of generative AI, some say that it will add close to 4 trillion with a T dollars into the economy via productivity gains, right? And so it's been a journey, as we're saying here, right? The cloud has been around for close to two decades now. AI for even longer, but exploding in the last couple of years. It's a super exciting time to be in tech.
Whoa. And I'm going to make an admission here. Until I came to Harvard last year and met you and our classmates, and we were talking about our papers and the headache we were getting, I had not used or touched AI. So, my friend and all our classmates, ALI 2023, thank you for introducing this man from the village of Nyaka to AI in 2023. And because I've also visited the IBM headquarters, a good friend of mine, Richard Siegel, worked there. In the AI section, I had the word before, but I had not interacted with it. If you haven't tried it, at least download ChatGPT and start from there. Game changer. And within this channel, we have interviewed a young man called Hamza, who is doing a PhD at MIT and Harvard in AI. And between Hamza's contribution and the notes you and I took, the meeting we had about how to use technology, I can tell you that 4 young men and women in Uganda are taking self-directed courses on technology and AI. So next time I tell you a business that has cropped out of our village because of you and Hamza, you will understand it. And
Oh,
also,
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I remember the our meeting and what we fondly call the fishbowl, which was
exactly.
one of the meeting rooms, and we were sketching in a piece of paper, how we could apply this to some of your, fantastic life-changing initiatives with Niaka and in Uganda.
Yeah, and so I've took that and I've had these meetings, but also talking of AI for at least people like me who really are not deep into it. Our classmate Eva, her husband, had MS, and as a result, Paulo, the last interview I had with him here is the last record he has with his voice still functioning.
Oh my goodness.
But they have taken the audio from that episode and used AI to develop a system where he types words and the computer speaks.
That's
Here is the
fantastic.
right channel.
Yeah.
We are interfacing with this. So there are many businesses that will come up. There are many that are already happening, but within your leadership also, my friend, you have had to lead diverse uh, teams in different aspects, diversity, inclusion, different leadership philosophies, and you have also had to deal with inclusivity in these companies. You have to deal with young people. You have had to deal with older people. For those aspiring leaders who want to make a significant significant impact in technology industry, what would you advise them to look out for in this ever-changing world of ours?
Yeah, Jackson, diversity is just good business. I would start there, right? A diverse team and diverse perspectives lead to better decisions, and better decisions mean more business. So start there, right? You add to that access to talent, women, minorities, immigrants, in a world in which like the fight for talent is one of the largest bottlenecks for growing any business. And I would change, the question that many times is asked, which is instead of asking, you know, uh, why to do or why to have a focus on diversity, I think that the real question should be why not,
Why?
right? Why not, right? And so that's where I would start. It's good business, and of course, there's an element of doing what is right. There's an element of social justice, and but as if you're in business, if you're a business person, you have an obligation to the stakeholders in your company, and it's just good business. Diverse teams, diverse opinions, better decisions, better decisions, better business.
Perfect. Wonderful answer. Thank you. Thank you, Paulo, for sharing that. You spent 35 years at IBM. We talked a little bit about what you are doing, what you did last year and what you are doing now. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic question. I've been working on a few projects. Uh, projects uh, are mostly geared towards giving back to others. One is, given my heritage and what we discussed here from Brazil, I wanted to give back to Brazil. I feel that entrepreneurship is one of, together with education, is one of the vehicles for social mobility. And so I've been working on an accelerator in Boston for underserved founders in Brazil that have a lot of talent, but don't have the social capital or access to the financial capital, be it philanthropic or venture or private capital. So that's one area. The other area is kind of the intersection of technology and democracy. I've been very concerned with the role that technologies like AI and social media that have a fantastic positive impact on society, as we discussed here, but they can also generate more radicalization, polarization, and I think some safeguards are needed to make sure that technology continues to prosper. And kind of the third area is as I continue there in Harvard, I've been very, very involved with student life, especially the undergrad student life. So these are the kind of the three areas that I've been focusing on.
Thank you. Man, accelerator, technology and democracy. I want to take a note and recognize your role in democracy unit during our cohort between you and Rex and other committee members. We were able, ladies and gentlemen, to learn about democracy in Brazil, in Turkey, in Chile, in Uganda, and diverse speakers came in to speak about democracy in the United States. So you have your work cut out now as we lead into 2024 elections and everything that's going on. And I'm sure Rex would have a lot to contribute here, but thank you for enlightening us and also taking that role of technology and democracy. I love it that you are giving back and you are focusing on these accelerators and underserved founders. I think I asked you a question during the presentation towards end of our graduation. How will that eventually expand to include the rest of the world? Charity begins at home. My mom taught me that. That's why I started in Yaka, in the village where I was born and raised. And I applaud you for starting in Brazil. Do you think there is a future expansion into other underserved founders, especially on the continent of Africa? I'm asking for my motherland.
Yeah, no, let's see, Jackson. It's I think there's an opportunity. I need to start somewhere. I need to make sure that I prove that some of the ideas that I have are going to generate the impact that I'm planning to generate. But I'd love to team with you, and maybe we can apply the same concepts to both of our motherlands.
Definitely. One thing that you have had so many ideas of mine. We've launched a bank in Uganda. But on my recent travel, I started thinking how AI can be applied into healthcare systems. Many of our children are dying younger. Many women are dying of controllable diseases. And there's something we can do there with AI. But what do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be remembered when one day you are not here anymore? the legacy you leave. You've been an amazing father. You've accomplished so much. But how would you like to be remembered, my friend?
So we're young, but
Yes,
it's
yeah.
I think legacy should be around the lives that we touch, the lives that I have touched. I think that's what I want to be remembered for, and those that I may have helped, if even if just a little bit along the way. So I think I would like my legacy to be some form of a small contribution to a safe, ethical, and more just society, and the impact that I have had in others. But it's early to talk about legacy. After all, we're so young.
We are so young. And in fact, Arya, when you were talking and you was talking about your son being 27, another one being 25, many of our viewers are going to say, how can you have those children? You look so young. You continue to look youthful, my friend. Thank you for taking good care of yourself. And that ties into something I also wanted to ask you, how you relax and what do you do for fun? I want to talk about us running New York half
Yeah.
marathon last year in March. Uh, and Paulo beat me so far away, finished way back and went home and changed before I finished the close line. But we did it. We did it together. You have since ran more things. Apart from running, how does Paula relax when you're not in technology, writing papers, learning, being a senior fellow? How do you relax?
Yeah, Jackson, it's the running is important, right? And it's a passion that you and I share. I think the running is hope that I will continue, be able to physically continue to run for a long time. But most importantly, I run for my mind even more than for my body. It's really a moment. It's me time, right? It's a moment that I'm by myself. I can collect my thoughts. I can organize the thoughts for the day. I can, listen to something that I'm interested in listening. So the running is a big part of my routine, not only physically, but as I said, mentally. And it's like simple things, right? I like reading. I do like reading a lot, which helps with my kind of passion for learning and traveling, getting to know more people now. Uh, and spending, good time with my woman friend, as you would say,
Yes,
Jackson,
women
which
friends.
is an important part of the next part of my journey here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Paolo, if we had time, we could spend hours and hours going back from our childhood to where we are. We tried to summarize it in less than an hour, but you're always welcome to come back and share more with all your exciting projects you are working on. We thank your parents who raised you and took care of you, you and your sister. We thank you for birthing two amazing boys who continue to shine. And we thank you for sparing time to come and share with us today. If you were to give yourself, this is the last question, but I will also ask you if there's something I didn't ask you that you want to talk about. But if you are to go back when you are 18 and give an advice to yourself, what would that advice be?
Well, that is a profound, profound question, Jackson. But just as we kind of approach the end of this conversation, it's I would be remiss not to say that what you do is amazing, right? Your focus on grandmothers, mothers, on empowerment of women in your country and transforming and touching thousands of lives is really an inspiration. So thank you for all that you do and keep going, my friend. Now I back to the advice for the young Paulo, right? I lived and live a happy life. I love my family. I love my friends. If I had to give some advice to young Paulo, I think that I would say take more time to look at the flowers along the path, even when you're running fast.
Wow. I take notes. When my eyes drop, somebody said to me, "You keep looking down." I'm taking notes. I'm learning as I also ask these questions. Take time to look at the flowers.
Yeah, take more time. Yeah, it's there's we talked like you and I like running. We sometimes we also run through our lives, right? And through this path of life, there's so many flowers that surround us that if we're only focused on objectives, goals, on we sometimes we don't take the time to look at those flowers, right? So it's I think it's important to
Yeah,
take.
this question here, we ask it to every guest. And I keep telling my oldest son and the young one, Nicholas, the oldest, Noran, the middle, Talia and Tessa, the twin girls, that this question is mostly for them and for all young people who are out there. And they look at Paulo, look at what you have accomplished and go, maybe God dropped him just out of heaven to be this way. And the advice you share, yours figuratively and literally. When I'm running these days, I don't even wear earpods anymore because I want to take it all in. But the running in life, this is so powerful. Thank you, and tweetable moment. As we conclude, is there something you would like to share that I did not ask you about?
You're very thorough. You're the best documentarian in the world, my friend.
All right, Harvard Television, you heard that. That contract needs to come and we can do more documentaries. Thank you, Paulo, my friend. Thank you for sparing time on your spring break to speak with us. And thank you for inspiring the world. This is another way we are giving back to the community where they would have to pay to see you, pay to see me. They get to see you and learn from you from all corners of the world, thanks to technology, which you have had a hand in creating. When this goes up, children in my village will see it, children in Brazil will see it, and those in India and all over the world. So thank you. Have a wonderful day and have a blessed week, everybody. Continue to subscribe, share, and comment below. And you can ask questions. We'll make sure that Paulo gets them and answers them. Take care. Thank you.